call this meeting of the GBRA Board of Directors to order in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Government Code 551, and certify a quorum of the board is present. Have all of the notices been posted?
Yes, sir, they have.
All right. Director Eric, will you lead us into pledges?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Good morning, everybody. I know coming up from Victoria, it poured down the whole way. I don't know if it's moving this direction or the other direction, but the area is going to get a lot of rain. This is the portion of the meeting intended for comments from the public on non-agenda items. Related topics, if you would, limit your comments to 3 minutes. To address the board, we ask that you sign in and completely fill out the attendance sheet that's maintained at the front door. No responses or action may be taken by the board during public comments. To address the board related to an item posted on the agenda for action or discussion, please indicate the item number you wish to comment on using the attendance sheet, and the board will call individuals to make comments at the appropriate time. Has anybody signed up?
No, sir, not on this item. We do have someone signed in on item 11, but not for public comment.
Okay. Then let's move into the consent items. I would entertain a motion to consider all of the consent items as at one time, unless any of the board members would like to pull one out first.
I so moved.
Do I have a motion?
Seconded. Yeah.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? General managers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We don't have general manager report for this board meeting, but just a couple of things real quick. As y'all saw in the email I sent to you, I'd like to reintroduce David Harris to y'all. He was appointed as Executive Manager of Operations.
Congratulations.
To lead our rapidly expanding operations group. And Darrell Balls is not going anywhere, fortunately. He's agreed to assist us as an advisor to the GM team as we continue to experience this high growth in our territory. We're going to actively use him to help facilitate and give us that advice and also assist with operations as needed moving forward. So we're very excited about that, and then I'm just going to invite David up to briefly give the board any updates on safety issues or training.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
We have been busy training the last month. I'll give you an update on that. We've had this room filled up. January 21st and 22nd, we had 18 attendees that were GBRA employees for a class called Water Utility Management. So this is a good entry-level management class. A couple of our new managers and younger people we see coming up. It also got credit for water and wastewater for those that had licenses, but it was a heavy management type class for those people. We had 18. January 27th and February 10th, we had 2 different classes for confined space. And we had a lot of people in all the divisions that benefited from that one. It's a very hazardous thing, something we need to watch. So we had 47 attendees. Mr. Bill Lee set that up with the company that got dual certification credits for it as well. So it made a water and wastewater license. That was a 6-hour class. January 28th and February 11th, we did trench safety. This is the competent person training. So anytime that there is a trenching project, there's a competent person on it that has to have certification. And that's the person that makes the call, is it safe, is it unsafe? If something goes wrong, they can stop the project, take care of that at the moment. We had 34 attendees that attended that from all divisions as well. Pump and water class was yesterday. We had 28 attendees. And so that was a 20-hour class as well, water and wastewater credit. A lot of people that are in it do not have water and wastewater licenses, but they're working the hydro and maintenance division. Some of our electricians that work with these pumps and motors. So it was a good training for them for all the varieties safety as well. Happy to report we didn't have any accidents in the last month. Only one incident, which was a broken window on a vehicle, driving down the road, the side window shattered, something popped up again. No injury to the employee. He was able to pull off the road safely, make the calls, check it out. So that's all we have to report. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any. Yes, sir.
The competent person's qualifications, do they have to sign some form before you start a project, digging a ditch, et cetera?
Typically, we don't deal with that too much, but we do have paperwork on that that we would keep up with. At that point, typically, they would have a safety meeting with the group as to what's expected and what's not expected as well. Typically, that's not something we deal with too much, but we could get into it in the future, so we want to be ahead of that.
Great, thank you.
The numbers you mentioned for training on all of those different trainings, does that cover pretty much everybody that needs to be trained in those different areas? Or are there some that maybe were out that day for some reason that needs to be?
So for the confined space and trans-space, we had two classes at different times, so we could rotate and pick those people up. I think we pretty much covered everybody. That's something we can have again in future times next year, even quicker if we need it. I just think we got everybody covered as good as we can. That turned out to be 1,406 hours of training if you count individuals. So we like to do that at this time of year when it's cold and rainy. This is when it comes summertime, we won't have as much time. So. Yes, sir.
A favor, please, David. If you would copy us on your, when you're going to have your safety meetings, and in case some of the directors might want to attend. I know over the years, I've attended a number of them.
Okay.
I appreciate going when you hold them.
Okay. Thank you. I can do that.
All right, congratulations on your position.
Next, Mr. Chairman, I'll invite Vanessa up to make a couple of introductions.
Good morning, Chairman and Directors. I have a new employee introduction as well as a promotion this morning. First, I would like to congratulate Lauren Willis on her recent promotion. Lauren is our current Environmental Services Manager who recently accepted the Director of Regulatory and Customer Affairs position. This position will develop, maintain, and manage our customer complaint and dispute resolution process per the Sunset recommendation. We are thrilled to have Lauren in this position, and with that being said, please join me in congratulating her. Second, I would like to introduce the newest member to our admin team, Amanda Reichel. Amanda is our safety manager and comes to GBRA with over 10 years of implementing and designing safety programs. Amanda also is certified as a safety training supervisor. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Biology degree as well as a Master in Public, Occupational, and Environmental Health, both from Texas A&M. I knew that was coming.
That's exciting. Good morning, everyone.
Howdy.
Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I was actually born in San Antonio, so I am a Texas native. After school, I went to Houston and worked there in the safety and health industry, primarily with oil and gas and the environmental remediation section. So I did a lot of cleanup work, hazard work. Enjoyed that so much that I moved to New Mexico, the northern part, up in Taos, and remediated a mine site there that Chevron owned. So I was up there for 3 years. And then I moved to Albuquerque, so I stayed local there to New Mexico, but missed home so much that I wanted to move back and be near family again. So I applied for the job here and was very excited to have the announcement that I was going to be joining a great team of people and look forward to starting improvements on the safety program here. So, it's just 3 weeks in, so I don't have too much time.
Well, I want you to know we're glad to have you, even though Texas A&M does not dominate.
They probably weren't smart
I didn't know there was any emission requirements.
When you would have gone, there wasn't. We're a very serious organization. We truly do take what we do very, very seriously. Over the levity. But we're sure glad you came home.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the warm welcomes and all the introductions to everyone so far. It seems like a great team.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I
That's
have
it?
for item 6.
All right, we're going to move over item number 7 because there's some issues we need to discuss from a legal nature in executive session first, and move straight into number 8, consideration of and possible action approving of an order adopting an ordinance of the Guadalupe-Blanco River Authority regarding boating and other water-related activities on Lake Dunlap.
I don't think we need that. I thought we did, but I don't think we get the screen. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Good morning. As you recall, we had a couple of different orders that we presented for the board's review and approval in the past related to hydro lakes that came out of the litigation. This particular presentation today and the item that we asked you to consider is not actually one that comes out of the hydro litigation. What it is kind of some cleanup of other areas that were not the subject of the litigation and not the subject of the independent expert panel report that was issued in the lawsuit. So what this is there are barriers up in Lake Dunlap, and we've had some older ordinances that relate to those, but we just kind of wanted to present these to you and ask you to adopt these so that we're kind of consistent across the board with the language and the approach. The proposed ordinance reads essentially like the other ones that we presented to you all, except there are no restricted unsafe zones. In this ordinance, the only thing that appears is a prohibited unsafe zone that correlates to buoys that we have close to Dunlap Dam. And what it would do is prohibit access with the same kind of exceptions where somebody can get a pass from Kevin, just like in the other ordinances, if they need to move a boat or something like that. But it would restrict access to the water overall within 600 feet of the dam, upstream of Dunlap Dam. And it would only apply there. It's not applying to the other lakes. And that is the only area in Lake Dunlap that would be affected by this ordinance. As we go through, as I said, we're just trying to clean everything up and make it as consistent as we can with everything else that we've got on the books now. If you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to address them.
No.
Yes, sir.
What about, you're talking about Lake Dunlap, what about Lake Wood? Is there, need to be changes there also?
There's nothing yet, and nobody has brought to my attention that we need to do that. I don't know if perhaps there is maybe less activity that concerns everybody as far as safety about that, because maybe they're more careful down there. I mean, what we have seen here in Dunlap is we've seen people all around the dam just kind of doing things that, caused us a great deal of concern. That said, if there's any items down there that we need to take a look at, well, please let us know, and we'll do that.
Okay. Well, it's the same type of situation, so.
Well, maybe we ought to take a look at it and see. Yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? All the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Action item number 9, consideration of and possible action authorizing the general manager, CEO to negotiate and execute a wastewater service agreement between Guadalupe-Blanco River Authority and the city of New Braunfels.
That action item, Mr. Chair, can be found on page 112 of your board report. As you mentioned, it is a wastewater service agreement with the city of New Braunfels. Thought you might be interested in what the city has in mind there. And it is in our Stein Falls area, and I'll show you that map in just a sec. about 150 acres that the city is developing for a sports complex. The first phase, it could be probably as many as 3 phases, but they have a softball fourplex up in this area, baseball fourplex down in this area, soccer fourplex down here. Got quite a bit of additional land that will be undeveloped in that first phase, and I think the intent is to put additional ball fields of some sort in that area. An interesting part of the city's plan is that this section, this section, this section, and this section, they're reserving for commercial development. They hope to attract some businesses that might complement the sports complex in the way of restaurants, hotels, convenience stores, gas stations, that type of thing. The part that's, I guess, applicable to GBRA is what's going to be the eventual wastewater demand. To start with, just the ball fields, concession stand, and restrooms, we are anticipating as few as 8 LUEs, or living unit equivalent. But with this commercial development, it may be considerably higher. So we're planning accordingly for that much higher number eventually. Also in the contract, they being the city, is granting GBRA an easement up this property line for eventual development north of that property that we don't currently serve, but undoubtedly we will serve at some time in the future. Just to remind you, again, you've seen this map a number of times. The Braunfels, I-35 is to the top of the page. Seguin, I-10 is to the bottom of the page. The sports complex is at the end of Klein where it hits 1044, and you see we're getting out towards the edge of our CCN boundary there. In the last 60 days, approximately, we've had active inquiries for service in this area, this area, this area, this area, this area, this area, down here, and up here. So it is a gift that keeps on coming. So short of any questions you might have, Mr. Chair, the action before you is consideration of and possible action authorizing the general manager CEO to negotiate and execute a wastewater service agreement between GBRA and the city of New Braunfels.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Alvin. Item number 10, consideration of and possible action authorizing the general manager CEO to negotiate and execute a contract for the Lockhart Water Treatment Plant SCADA upgrade and approve an amendment to the GBRA fiscal year 2020 work plan and budget for this project. Mike.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the GBRA has been operating the water treatment plant for the city of Lockhart for over 20 years. And we found this plaque on the side of one of the walls at the water treatment plant. It was dated 1940, and the president at the time was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, just to give you an idea of how old some of these structures are. We still have them operating. The water treatment plant was built in the 1950s, and that's what it looked like back in the 1950s. It still looks very similar, except the trees are a little bit bigger. The purpose of the water treatment plant is to treat for iron and manganese. The water wells that we have in the Carrizo Aquifer are filled with iron and manganese, and the purpose of the water treatment plant is to take that iron and manganese out. This is a schematic of how that all operates at the water treatment plant. We have a well field with 7 wells. We pump into a tank out near the well fields, and from that tank we pump to the water treatment plant where we aerate. We add a little bit of chlorine to oxidize the iron and manganese. We let it settle out a little bit in these clarifiers. And then the last thing, one of the last things we have to do is we have to filter with specialized filters that have special media that get the iron and manganese out. And then we can, we add a little chlorine there as well, and then we go to our clear wells to pump it to town. Part of this, action item is to replace the control systems that controls all of these different pumps, the tank levels, the pressures, and all aspects of the water treatment plant and the well system. And it's called the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, the SCADA. And this is a quick schematic of how that SCADA works. We have a computer which we can send signals to an interface device that goes out to the field so we can monitor, or if we want to turn a pump on and off. It's all electronic, and we have to upgrade our software. We have to upgrade the hardware, which is all these computers and these interfaces, and that's what we're trying to do today. And I'd be happy to answer any question that you might have.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion, questions? All right, call the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right. Moves us all the way to discussion items. Nathan.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. This morning I have a presentation and want to inform the Board on all the activities and improvements that are going on out at the GBRA Gorge at Candy Lake. I also want to highlight the great partnership that we have with the Gorge Preservation Society. And in that vein, I wanted to introduce Van Green, who is chairman of the board for the Gorge Preservation Society. And Van has asked to say a few words at the conclusion of my presentation. As I get started, I just want to point out the picture on the right in that slide that's up there. A lot of folks are unaware that we have dinosaur tracks out at the gorge. So I know I'm going to butcher this today, but the Acrocanthosaurus.
Very good.
That is a picture of a dinosaur track there on the right, and you can see a human foot there for scale and comparison. But that's just one of the attractions that we have out at the gorge. Back in 2007, GBRA, the Gorge Preservation Society, and the Corps of Engineers all adopted a master plan and a vision for the gorge and what we wanted to see in the future. One of the sentinel pieces of that master plan, if you will, was an environmental learning center. It also had ideas about demonstrations that we would want to show, educational demonstrations. Talked about a trail that wasn't just down in the gorge, but up on the rim of the gorge, so you could look down into the gorge. Guided, self-guided tours, access, and of course they talked about our continuation and our increased activity for the 5th grade classrooms that we teach out there. Some of these components have been implemented. Some of them I'm about to talk to you about that we're getting ready to implement. And I just pulled one picture as an example. If you guys will remember, we put the access and the roadways through the gorge last year, and that was a picture of the ribbon cutting for that road that we appropriately named Happy Trail. Again, one of the big highlights of that plan, that master plan, was the Environmental Learning Center. At one point, there was a design for the Environmental Learning Center that was grandioso, in my opinion, more like a resort. We have landed on something I think that's much more realistic and achievable. Lake Flato Designs out of Austin did some pro bono work for us and helped design our now Environmental Learning Center that we're striving to get to. Much more rustic, looks much more like the gorge itself, but very usable and efficient for teaching the kiddos and things like that, and having New Zealand type setup to it. It reminds me a lot of the Cibolo Nature Center, if you've been to the Cibolo Nature Center in Bernie. So just to kind of orient you a little bit, this is an aerial of the gorge and of the GBRA property next to the gorge where a lot of our infrastructure will be located. The white building that you see in the center, that is where our Environmental Learning Center is contemplated to go when we get that far. We'll have a breezeway in the middle. The road that comes off the access there that you see, that is Happy Trail, and it is built and it is in place, and that was one of the first pieces of infrastructure that we needed so we could achieve everything else. The blue box that you see there is an old 2-car garage from the farmhouse that used to be on the property, and that is the only structure that's on the property right now. We use that as a break room. We store our ATVs in it, all of our maintenance equipment. It is everything essentially at the gorge right now. To build that environmental learning center, that 2-car garage has to come down. It's effectively called the rock shop right now, but it has to come down, and it's past its useful life as well. So it's not coming down just because we're putting a building there. It's past its useful life. The red square that you see up there, as staff in the Gorge Preservation Society started talking about how we actually implement this master plan, we came around to the realization that when the rock shop comes down and before the environmental learning center is built, we need a place of transition to call headquarters, and we also need some outdoor space, and we are going to need storage in place for our maintenance tools and things, even when the environmental learning center is built. So the red box represents what we have dubbed the outdoor lab, and it's going to very much be a metal building that serves numerous purposes on the property. It will be our office building for a period of time. It will eventually become storage and a break room for all our maintenance equipment and ATVs. We have designed it with all of these purposes in mind, and you kind of get a feel for what it will look like on the right-hand side. Our goal, again, is to get to the Environmental Learning Center in the future years, and this is a phased approach to get us there. We hope to have this metal building constructed and on site probably by the end of the summer or fall of this year. Another piece of that master plan was to get self-guided tours out of the gorge. So right now you have to call in advance, you schedule a tour, there's a guide that takes you down into the gorge for a 3-hour tour. So if you just show up out of the gorge and want to see what we have out there or have the educational experience, you can't do that because you have to call in advance. So we've always wanted self-guided tours out there as part of the master plan, and we are realizing that dream as we speak. First step was to design, put it on the layout. We have that. You can see the trail. It's up on the upper rim, so you can look down into it, and it will be self-guided. Our plan is to make from Overlook 1 through Overlook 3 to be ADA accessible, or if you're a mother that or a family that has a stroller or something like that, be very easy traverse, low inclines, those sorts of things. But when you pass Node 3 or Overlook 3, the idea would becomes more natural, more challenging, more of a natural flow with the land, if you will. So we're going to offer some different opportunities for different sets of people who may come out there. The North Rim Trail itself has been constructed all with volunteers or with GBRA staff. So we have built this trail now or finishing it up. It was a great example of the partnership between GBRA and the Gorge Preservation Society. On the left, what you see is where volunteers from the Trailblazers group with the Gorge Preservation Society went through. They got a foot trail established. They cut all the vegetation off of it and stacked it up. Then GBRA staff came in with a big chipper and with the help of the volunteers, chipped all that in place and essentially made the polished and finished trail that you see on the right-hand side that traverses through the property and then at points comes out to the gorge where you can overlook the gorge. Other pieces of the North Rim Trail will include interpretive signage. So each one of the overlooks will have a large sign that tells you what you're looking at, points out a few factoids about the biota or the fauna in the area, gives you an orienteering of where you're at on the map. And then we have a few highlights on each that may talk about the history or some of that sort of stuff. Safety fencing at each one of the nodes is a piece of our plan. What you see there is weathered metal, so again it fits that look of the rustic atmosphere that's out there. It will not be a straight across fence like that. Each one of the nodes has a different characteristic to it. It may be rounded, it may be jagged, just depending on the rock and how the rock was cut from the water when it went over the spillway. So each one of those will be designed for the actual site that it's going. That gives you a good idea of what it's going to look like. We'll have wayfinding signage that goes out on the property for the first time. So where are the restrooms, where do I check in, have little information on it like pack it in, pack it out, stay on the trail, some of those things that you're used to seeing at venues like this. Have some information that goes on signage when you check in, our rates, what the gorge is all about, how it was created. We have arboretum that you can go through so you can follow and see all the different plants and stuff like that. So have great information about that. As I kind of wrap up on the North Rim Trail, I wanted to mention we hope to have the North Rim Trail open this summer. Whether that means the start of the summer or kind of late summer, but that is our goal, is this summer, and I see no reason that we won't be able to make that. I want to mention this was a partnership between the GPS Trailblazers and GBRA staff to get this put together. And GPS didn't just put volunteers of man hours into this, they also put money, real skin in the game, and so they helped pay for design of all of these signage. They contracted with Half and Associates. A lot more than just signage was in that contract, but gives you an idea of that partnership. The last piece that we're wanting to get accomplished this summer, even going into the late summer, would be our monument signage, our essentially gateways as you come onto the property. So the sign that you see here would go on the south access road there by the dam of Canyon Lake. The blue color on that sign, it's hard to represent it, but that's a faux copper look. So it'd have that weathered look again, sticking with everything else on the property. And this would be our actual gateway as you come into the property. Again, that limestone look, it's rustic, got the faux copper sign again. This would, although it doesn't depict it well, serve as a security gate as well. So you have gates that came out from behind that rock and actually closed off the property when we weren't open or we wanted to prevent access to the property. I did tell you that I wanted to highlight the partnership between GPS and GBRA. I've been working with the group now for about a year and a half, and it has been a successful partnership the whole way, in my opinion. The tours that go on out there, they're led by volunteers, so all the guides and docents that go on the tours and lead the tours are volunteers. Our staff helps schedule them, but these tour guides and docents have a passion for that gorge, and it comes through in the tours that they lead. The Trailblazers, that's essentially what I would call the maintenance group, but these guys do all sorts of, guys and gals, let me be more specific. They do all sorts of work with us, and they stand side by side with GBRA staff to get some of the things done. The trail that I showed you is just one example. The Trailblazers power wash off before the schools come so you can see the geological features. If there's safety issues, they help identify them, they help fix them. They just work side by side with us, and it's been a great partnership. Our MOU, which we have revised since the sunset recommendations, captures all of this, and it was very easy and positive to go through that process with them. And I just wanted to mention again, they committed $100,000 to the North Rim Trail project. They spent about, as a GPS group, they spent about $30,000 on the Half and Associates contract, and they're going to spend another $40,000 to $50,000 on the safety fencing that goes at the nose. So when I say we're in this together, it really is a collaborative partnership that we're working through. And one last thing I want to mention, the work is never done. So even though we see what we're doing this summer, we know where we're headed, there's still some further work that we need to do. We have applied for an ADA grant from Texas Parks and Wildlife, which would really help us out there to achieve some of our goals. We do intend to have a soft opening at some point of the North Rim Trail. And I'm sure that through Tricia, we would make sure some board members had invites if they wanted to. The North Rim Trail itself has all sorts of possibilities, and with in-house staff, Misty, our new GIS person, we are trying to create a mobile app that essentially would let you walk the self-guided piece of the tour yourself. You get out to one of the overlook nodes, it starts talking to you. We don't have our personality voices all selected just yet for that, but we've got some folks in mind that want to make sure the passion and some of the work comes through, but then also want to make sure it's entertaining and folks will listen to it all. And as I mentioned, our big goal at the end is to get to the Environmental Learning Center. And we're going to need a capital campaign so we can go to folks like Chevron and Exxon and HEB and others to ask them to help fund that. And so hopefully in the next calendar year, we'll put together that campaign. We'll have our outdoor lab built, we'll have the self-guided piece open, and then we have something to sell to folks for why they would want to get in a partnership with us out at the gorge. And with that, that's the information that I have. Van, would you like to say a few words, sir?
Well, Chair and Board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a little something. I thought it would be good to augment what Nathan just said by representing the GPS in terms of how we support the partnership and the relationship that we've been through. We've been partners in this whole process for over 10 years now. We've gone through hundreds of volunteers in support of this program. But as this transition occurred after the Sunset Commission, we were working with new groups, and we were working with Kevin and Jonathan in terms of this process, and I wanted to recognize and say how much we appreciated working with them. They've been very kind and supportive to us. We've had a good relationship, and we feel very confident in terms of where we're going in the future. As we went through this process, we had to go through the details of how we're going to separate all of these issues out and how we're going to let go of a few things and pass on a few things. And to facilitate that, Nathan has done a wonderful job. And I wanted to recognize his work in this whole process, because had it not been for his honesty and his commitment and patience with us, we wouldn't have been as successful as we are right now. So I wanted to say thank you to Nathan for his work. In addition to that, when you hired these new folks on, it has just been wonderful to see when we go through one of these 5th grade field trips. I took the opportunity to observe one the other day. The new staff you have out there are just really doing a great job. They are happy, they enjoy their work, and it comes out when they express themselves to those young kids. And seeing them work with those kids the other day was just really rewarding for me, because it gave me the feeling we are in a new realm here, and we're passing the baton on to you all to take care of this group. And seeing those kids' eyes light up when they picked up a rock and we're excited about it was just something special to see. But it would not be without proper recognition to say that Jane Ellen is one of the key factors in this whole thing, and she's done just a super job all along. And we're right now going through Jane Ellen withdrawals, because she was so critical and supportive of us, and we're looking at what do we do with this paperwork. Well, we got to call Jane Ellen right now. We didn't know what to do with it. But I wanted to say just generally that this whole process has been very rewarding for all of us, and we appreciate the commitment and the support that you all have given us, and we're looking forward to the future. I have no doubt that this gorge is going to be one of your shining stars in the future. So thank you for your effort.
Thank you so much. All right, base flow report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Directors.
Good morning.
Just a brief update on the basin starting off for 2020. Our normal rainfall for this part of the year is pretty much about around 2 inches for the majority of the basin. And we have actually gotten that average rainfall just in Kendall and Canal counties around the reservoir, which is good. We continue to be really dry in the lower basin, almost very little rain down there. So the rainfall Mr. Patillo mentioned this morning is very welcome. And that still translates, we are still in a long-term precipitation deficit over the last 6 months, about 50 to 70% of our normal rainfall has been realized. So as a result of that, the drought still persists, the mild drought conditions across all of our basin. The changes you'll see here is that above Canyon, they've reduced the drought category down to a normally dry due to the rainfall we've had up there, but the majority of the lower basin and all the way up to Blanco is now in the severe drought category for the drought monitor. River flows, you've seen what you would expect from that. We've upstream of Canyon, the flows have increased slightly to closer to median type conditions, so pretty normal flows up above Canyon for this time of year, but down in the lower basin, some very low flows compared to the median values in parentheses. Same thing up the Blanco. Canal Springs remain very healthy. The kind of thin gray line in the back is a reminder of what we saw in 2019, above average spring flows for the entirety of the year. Starting off 2020, we have crept up a little bit above the average, so we remain above average, but as you can see, this is the time of year where spring flows typically start to kind of go over the edge and start to decline a little bit with increased water use in the Edwards, so we'll continue to track that. Canyon is really no change from last month. We remain about 3 feet below conservation storage. Last month we had inflows that were slightly below the outflow from Canyon, With that rainfall we've had, now the inflows are just slightly above the releases. So really the reservoir is kind of maintaining status quo for the time being. Looking forward, what this graph essentially tells you is what's in that one sentence is that really the Pacific is not looking to drive our forecast for the long-term outlook on precipitation. Models are trending towards a neutral condition all throughout the summer, with a pretty good probability of staying in that neutral condition. So the Pacific's not really driving our forecast. The good news is the day after our January board meeting, the Climate Prediction Center issued this forecast for showing some drought relief for most of Texas. However, they are not backing that up with an associated above average chance of precipitation over the next 3 months. We remain in an equal chance of above or below normal precip, so no real strong prediction on what the next few months will hold for us.
All right. Any questions?
Hey, Charlie, on those median flows, are those annualized median flows, or that you give that by month, the median for the month?
Really what I actually do is take the daily median for the preceding day, and it's pretty representative of the monthly flow.
All right, we're getting ready to go into executive session. Would you, the pleasure of the board, to take about a 10-minute break before we go into executive session? Let's do it, and we will reconvene at 5:12. Okay, the GBRA board is reconvening into open session at 12:34. Courtney, let me introduce motion. This is number 7 on your agenda. Consideration of and possible action approving a resolution by the Guadalupe-Blanco River Authority declaring a public necessity for the acquisition of certain property rights for the Stein Falls Collection Capital Improvement Project, including by condemnation, if necessary, of following properties: approximately 0.6424 acres of a permanent easement and 0.1284 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Gary A. Dittmar, shown in a deed recorded in volume 1215, page 596, the official public records of Guadalupe County, Texas. Approximately 0.3772 acres of permanent easement and 0.752 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Anthony Clark Davis, as shown in the plat thereof recorded in volume 7, page 216, and correction plat recorded volume 7, page 387, deed and plat records of Guadalupe County, Texas. Approximately 1.572 acres of permanent easement and 0.3143 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Edwin Donhauser and Shanna Donhauser, as shown in deed recorded in document number 2018990024348, official public records, Guadalupe County, Texas, and approximately 0.7328 acres of permanent easement and 0.1958 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Dennis G. Ladd, recorded in document number 2018990013461, official public records, Guadalupe County, Texas.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a request for authority to exercise our condemnation authority for these 4 parcels, which we have been able to unobtain agreement on the easements. We will continue to encourage our outside counsel to obtain agreements on these if we can, but if not, we will be filing petitions to obtain these easements.
All right, we'll need a motion. Director Mayor?
I move the Board of Directors of the Guadalupe-Blanco River Authority authorize the use of the power of eminent domain to acquire the following properties located in Guadalupe County, Texas. 1, 0.6424 acres of permanent easement and 0.1284 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Gary A. Dittmar. 2, 0.3772 acres of permanent easement and 0.752 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Anthony Clark Davis. 3, 1.572 acres of permanent easement in 0.3143 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Edward Donhauser and Shauna Donhauser. And number 4, 0.732 acres of permanent easement and 0.1958 acres of temporary easement located in a tract of land owned by Dennis G. Ladd for the construction, operation, and maintenance of certain wastewater diversion facilities and a wastewater pipeline and wastewater treatment lift station and other system-related improvements for the Stein Falls Collection Capital Improvement Project located in portions of Guadalupe County. My motion includes the approval of the proposed resolution and intends that the record vote on this matter applies to all units of the property to be condemned.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There being no additional business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Done.